Okay, we're finishing up the in-class worksheet number 3 from Chem 201X. Just the last little bit about isotopic symbols. The full isotopic symbols tell you a lot of information. A full isotopic symbol starts with the elemental symbol. As a subscript to the left is the number of protons. The number of protons is also called the atomic number. And it's also given the symbol Z. For some reason, I'm not really sure. As a superscript to the left is the mass number of that particular atom of that element. The mass number is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. As a superscript to the right, you'll find a charge, if any, on a particular ion. If there's nothing listed as a superscript to the right, we assume that there's no charge or that the charge is 0. So let's look at the first symbol. First symbol has a symbol of Ba. That's barium, so we can fill in the element name. We can see that there are 56 protons. That's the atomic number. So we can add in the 56 here for the number of protons. The number of neutrons we can determine by looking at the mass number of 140. We know that that's equal to the number of neutrons plus 56. So the number of neutrons will equal 140 minus 56, or 84. For the number of electrons, we can determine that by looking at the number of protons and the charge. We can see that there's no charge listed for this particular atom of barium. So we know that the number of protons must be equal to the number of electrons, since they each have the same charge, where protons are positive and electrons are negative. So this atom of barium has to have 56 electrons. We've already discussed there's no charge. We can move on to the next one. It's a little more difficult. We don't know what the element is. The only thing we know is that there are 16 protons. If we look at the periodic table, we can look at all the atomic numbers. The atomic numbers are the ones right above the elemental symbol. And so we can see that sulfur has 16 protons in it. So we know the element is sulfur. We can put in the atomic number as a subscript to the left. We can add the number of protons to the number of neutrons to get the mass number of 34. In terms of the number of electrons, we'll have to look at the charge of this particular atom of sulfur. Since we know that atom of sulfur has a -2 charge, we know that the number of protons plus the number of electrons have to equal -2. So the number of electrons has to be equal to -18. Since electrons are negative, we know that that's just 18 electrons. For the next question, we're again told not necessarily what the element is, but what the number of protons are. So we can go back to the periodic table and look for the element with 28 protons. The element with 28 protons is nickel. So we can write in nickel for the element number. We know its mass, or its atomic number is 28. Its mass number is going to be the sum of 28 and 36 for the number of neutrons. So the mass number is going to be 64. Again, we have to look at the number of electrons to determine what the charge is. For nickel, there are 28 positive protons and 26 negative electrons. So that's going to be equal to +2. So the charge on this atom or ion of nickel will be +2. We can fill in the element names. This was sulfur, and this was nickel. So that's how to do elemental symbols. Make sure you practice them on your own.